Captain Lee gripped the metal railing of his ship's command center as the enormous alien warship moved closer. The Soul's Pride looked tiny next to the monster approaching them. His hands were steady, but inside his heart was racing. Not from fear, but from excitement. This moment had been planned for months. Around him, his crew acted like nervous rookies. Seaman Bo dropped his tablet and scrambled to pick it up. Pilot Dong kept hitting the wrong buttons on his control panel, making beeping sounds fill the bridge. To anyone watching, these humans looked completely out of their depth. "Sir, they're trying to talk to us," said Communications Officer Park. Her voice shook just right, not too much, not too little. She had practiced this exact tone dozens of times in the simulation rooms back on Earth. The air in front of them shimmered and twisted until a massive creature appeared. Admiral Vextar stood 9 feet tall with dark green scales that reflected the bridge lights. His yellow eyes looked down at the humans like they were insects. Sharp teeth filled his mouth when he spoke. "Listen carefully, primitive creatures," the alien admiral said, his voice deep and threatening. "Your weak little ships and pathetic weapons mean nothing to the hegemony. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your Earth will be next unless you do exactly what we say." Captain Lee made himself look smaller. He let his shoulders slump and his voice come out quiet and scared. "Please, Great Admiral, we don't want any trouble. Humanity has always been a peaceful species. We'll do whatever you ask." The aliens' laugh sounded like rocks grinding together. "Good. You will provide us with workers and materials. Your people will serve us, and maybe we won't destroy your pretty blue planet." While Lee kept talking in his frightened voice, Engineer Kim worked, quietly at his station behind the captain's chair. His fingers moved across hidden controls that the aliens couldn't see. Every second, his equipment was studying the massive alien ship. He recorded their weapon systems, shield technology, and engine patterns. The data flowed silently to secret transmitters that would send everything back to Earth. "We understand completely," Lee said, bowing low like a servant. "Humanity accepts your generous offer to let us live." Admiral Vextar's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. These humans were even weaker than his scouts had reported. "You will receive your orders soon. Do not disappoint us, or your world burns." The Psi hologram disappeared, leaving the bridge in silence. As soon as the alien ship moved away, the crew dropped their act. Pilot Dong straightened up and grinned. Seaman Bo stopped fumbling with his equipment. Communications Officer Park's hands stopped shaking. "Did we get everything?" Lee asked quietly. Kim nodded, downloading the data to a secure storage device. "Every detail, Captain. Their shields, weapons, even their coffee machine power levels. Command is going to love this." Lee looked out at the stars through the bridge window. Phase 1 was complete. The aliens thought they had found easy prey, but they had no idea what was really waiting for them. Humanity's greatest strength had always been making enemies underestimate them. "Take us home," he ordered. "We have a war to prepare for." Ambassador Han sat in the massive council chamber, feeling like a mouse surrounded by giants. The Hegemony Council members towered above him on their floating platforms, each one more intimidating than the last. Their voices echoed off the crystal walls as they discussed humanity's fate like they were talking about livestock. "Your pathetic species will mine asteroids for us," declared Councillor Zekthos, his 4 arms gesturing dramatically. "You will also provide workers for our construction projects across the galaxy." Han kept his face blank and submissive, but inside he was fighting not to laugh. These aliens were so proud of themselves, so sure they had everything figured out. They had no idea they were being played. "We are deeply grateful for this opportunity to serve," Han said, making his voice sound small and grateful. "Humanity has always dreamed of finding our place among the stars." Another council member, a floating jellyfish-like creature, spoke up. "Your people will work in groups of 1,000. Each group will have hegemony overseers to make sure you don't cause trouble." Perfect, Han thought. Groups of 1,000. Humans, spread across their entire empire. They were basically asking him to place 1,000 trained agents in every corner of their civilization. "That sounds very wise," Han replied out loud. "Our people can be difficult to manage sometimes. Your guidance will help us become better servants." While the aliens continued their speech about humanity's new role, Han's eyes moved around the chamber. He memorized every detail, the guard positions, the emergency exits, the communication panels. His enhanced contact lenses recorded everything, sending the data to a hidden transmitter in his jacket. Thousands of miles away on Earth, Director Cho sat in her underground command center, watching the feed from Han's meeting. Around her, dozens of analysts worked at computer screens, processing intelligence from across the galaxy. "Ma'am, we just received the shipping manifests from the Hegemony," reported Agent Park. "They want us to send 10,000 workers to their mining colonies next week." Cho smiled. "Excellent. Are our people ready?" "Every single one," Park confirmed. "They think they're getting scared human laborers. Instead, they're getting our best intelligence operatives, engineers and soldiers. Each one trained for years for this exact mission." The plan was working perfectly. Every ship that left Earth carried hidden sensors that would map alien territories. Every worker was actually a highly trained agent who would study alien technology and plant surveillance equipment. The tribute payments weren't just raw materials. They were Trojan horses filled with spy devices. "What about their security?" Cho asked. "Almost non-existent," replied another analyst. "They're so convinced we're primitive that they barely search our ships. Their guards don't even carry weapons around human workers." Cho leaned back in her chair, watching the data streams flowing across her screens. Information about alien military bases, government facilities, and communication networks poured in every day. The Hegemony thought they were getting free labor, but they were actually paying humans to spy on them. "How long until we have complete intelligence coverage?" she asked. "At this rate, maybe 6 months," Park answered. "They're spreading our people across their entire empire. Soon we'll have eyes and ears everywhere." Back in the council chamber, Han stood up and bowed deeply as the meeting ended. "Thank you for this incredible honor. Humanity will not disappoint you." As he walked out, he allowed himself a small smile. The aliens had just handed them the keys to their entire civilization, and they didn't even know it. General Nam stood at the edge of the military transport dock, watching 500 of his best soldiers shuffle toward the alien ships, like they were walking to their own execution. Their shoulders were slumped, their weapons held loosely in shaking hands. To anyone watching, these humans looked like terrified farm boys who had never seen real combat. But Nam knew better. Every single one of these scared recruits was actually a veteran operative with years of special training. They had practiced looking weak and frightened until it became second nature. Lieutenant Yoon approached, dragging his feet and keeping his eyes down like a defeated man. "Sir, the aliens are loading us onto their transport now," he said loudly enough for the nearby Hegemony guards to hear. Nam grabbed Yoon's shoulder and pulled him close, speaking in a whisper only he could hear. "Remember the plan. The moment you hit that battlefield, you're a dead man. Find cover, fake your death, and stay hidden. Don't break character no matter what happens around you." "Understood, sir," Yoon whispered back. "How long do we stay dead?" "Until you get the activation signal. Could be weeks, could be months, but when that signal comes, you'll know exactly what to do." The alien transport ships were massive gray boxes with no windows and barely any life support. The Hegemony didn't care if their human cannon fodder arrived comfortable or even fully alive. They just needed bodies to throw at their enemies. As the ships lifted off, Nam watched them disappear into the stars. Phase 2 was beginning, and it was the most dangerous part of their plan yet. 3 days later, on the rocky surface of planet Kepler 442b, Lieutenant Yoon crouched behind a boulder as laser fire screamed overhead. The Hegemony had dropped the human soldiers right into the middle of a war zone between two alien factions. All around him, his fellow humans were running and screaming as enemy weapons cut them down. "Take cover!" shouted Sergeant Kim before diving behind a crashed alien vehicle. A plasma bolt hit the ground where he had been standing, creating a small crater. Yoon watched the battle unfold, studying how the aliens fought. Their tactics were rigid and predictable. They moved in straight lines, used the same formations. His people had studied in training simulations. No creativity, no adaptation. When an energy blast exploded near his position, Yoon threw himself to the ground and went completely still. He had small blood packets hidden in his uniform that burst on impact, making it look like he had been hit. Around him, other humans were doing the same thing, staging convincing deaths while the real battle raged on. The alien overseers barely glanced at the fallen humans. Dead cannon fodder wasn't worth their attention. They were too busy trying to win their war to notice that some of the corpses were still breathing. As night fell, Yoon opened his eyes. Carefully, the battlefield had gone quiet. Using hand signals, he communicated with the other dead soldiers scattered around the area. Slowly, quietly, they began to move. While the aliens slept in their fortified camps, the humans slipped underground, into natural cave systems. Down there, they set up hidden communication equipment and began mapping the alien military networks. They studied captured weapons, recorded tactical information, and established supply caches. Sergeant Kim activated a quantum transmitter that would send their intelligence back to Earth. Command, this is Ghost Team Alpha. We're in position and operational. The aliens fight like robots, same patterns, same mistakes. When the real war starts, we'll be ready for them. Above ground, the aliens celebrated their victory, never knowing that their dead human soldiers were now living ghosts in their territory, watching and learning everything. Commander Song stared at her computer screen in the underground command bunker, her hands trembling as the video file finished playing. The footage had come from a hidden camera in the human settlement on New Busan, transmitted just hours before the colony went silent. The images burned into her mind. Alien soldiers with their energy weapons raised, human families huddled together, in terror. The hegemony overseer's cold voice echoing across the settlement square, announcing that the human workers had failed to meet their quotas for the third month in a row. Inefficiency will not be tolerated, the alien had declared. Let this be an example to all human colonies. What followed made Song's blood run cold. The systematic execution of civilians who had done nothing wrong except work as hard as they could under impossible conditions. Elderly people who couldn't keep up with the brutal pace. Parents who had tried to protect their children, even the children themselves, guilty of nothing except being human. Song closed her eyes and took a deep breath. For months, she and the other commanders had watched similar injustices happen across human settlements. They had held back, stayed patient, followed the plan. Every instinct screamed at them to fight, but they had waited because the mission required it. Not anymore. She reached for the quantum communicator, a device that could send messages instantly across the entire galaxy through folded space. Her finger hovered over the activation switch for just a moment. Once she pressed it, there would be no going back. Years of careful planning and patient infiltration would give way to open war. The faces of the murdered children flashed through her mind again. Her finger came down hard on the switch. "This is Commander Song to all stations across the galaxy," she spoke into the device, her voice steady and cold. "Protocol 7 is now active. Repeat, Protocol 7 is active. They crossed the line. The masquerade is over." Light years away on a mining asteroid, Agent Lee was pretending to fix a broken drill when his hidden communicator buzzed against his chest. He listened to Song's message and felt a grim smile cross his face. Finally, on the alien capital world, Operative Park was serving drinks to hegemony officials when the signal reached her. She set down her tray calmly and walked to the kitchen, where she activated a hidden weapons cache behind the food storage unit. In the depths of space, Lieutenant Yoon and his team of dead soldiers received the message in their underground bunker. They looked at each other with expressions of relief and determination. The time for hiding was over. Across 100 worlds, in mining colonies and construction sites, aboard alien ships and inside government buildings, human agents who had spent years playing the role of weak, frightened workers suddenly stood up straighter. The fear in their eyes was replaced by something much more dangerous, the cold, focused anger of trained soldiers who had finally been given permission to fight back. The message spread through quantum relays and hidden communication networks, reaching every corner of the galaxy where humans had been scattered. In factory dormitories, agents quietly reached for weapons they had kept hidden for months. In alien military bases, human janitors and cooks began accessing computer systems they had been secretly studying. The hegemony had ruled through fear and brutality for thousands of years. They believed that overwhelming force could crush any resistance, that primitive species like humanity would always submit to superior technology and numbers. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The humans had been patient, had endured humiliation and abuse, had watched their people suffer and die. But patience had limits, and the massacre at New Busan had finally crossed the line that could not be uncrossed. The real war was about to begin. Captain Yang felt his heart pounding as the hidden tiger slowly drifted out from behind the massive asteroid where it had been hiding for 3 years. The sleek black destroyer had been invisible to alien sensors, its hull covered in technology that bent light and absorbed radar signals like a ghost ship floating through space. Around him, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. These weren't the fumbling rookies the aliens had seen before. Lieutenant Ko monitored weapon systems that could punch through alien shields like they were made of paper. Navigator O tracked targets with computers faster than anything the hegemony possessed. Engineer Min managed power systems that drew energy directly from folded space itself. "Captain, we're getting signals from the other hiding spots," reported Communications Officer Yu. "Fleet is ready to reveal." Through the viewscreen, Zhang watched space itself seem to come alive. What had looked like empty void suddenly filled, with warships as hundreds of vessels emerged from their hiding places. Some uncloaked from behind asteroids and moons. Others stepped out of dimensional pockets that existed between normal space and hyperspace. A few even materialized from inside the hulls of seemingly abandoned space stations. The sight was breathtaking. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything the aliens had built. Humanity's true navy had been built in secret over 4 decades, hidden in shipyards that existed in parallel dimensions and factories buried deep inside hollow asteroids. Admiral Ryu's voice crackled over the fleet communication system from the flagship Soul's Revenge, a kilometer-long battleship that bristled with weapons the aliens didn't even know were possible. "All units, this is Admiral Ryu," the transmission began. Zhang could hear the satisfaction in the old admiral's voice. 40 years of preparation end today. 40 years of building, training, and waiting while we watch them treat our people like slaves. Show them what humans really are. The first target was a hegemony listening post orbiting a dead planet. The alien facility was heavily armed with plasma cannons and protected by energy shields that could stop conventional weapons. Its crew of 200 alien soldiers had no idea they were being watched. "Target locked," reported Lieutenant Ko. "Fire," Zhang ordered quietly. The hidden tiger's main weapon wasn't a laser or plasma cannon. It was something far more advanced, a gravity pulse generator that could collapse matter at the molecular level. The beam was invisible, silent, and unstoppable. The alien outpost simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, a massive metal structure bristling with weapons. The next moment there was nothing but empty space and a few scattered particles drifting in the void. The alien defenders never even had time to send a distress signal. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as humanity's hidden fleet struck. Simultaneously, a mining facility on Kepler 438b vanished when a human cruiser emerged from inside the planet's rings. An alien supply depot was destroyed by ships that had been disguised as space debris for years. "This is Destroyer Busan's pride," came another voice over the communications channel. "Alien patrol fleet eliminated. They never saw us coming." "Cruiser Inchen's Fury reporting," said another captain. "Enemy communications array destroyed. They can't call for help." Zhang watched his tactical display as green dots marked successful strikes across multiple star systems. In less than 10 minutes, humanity had crippled the hegemony's outer defenses and cut their communication lines. "Admiral, this is Captain Zhang," he reported. "First wave complete. The aliens are blind and deaf." "Excellent," Admiral Ryu replied. "Phase 2 begins now. Time to show them that the real human army was never the one they thought they were fighting." Colonel O gripped the controls of her fighter as she led the 77th Attack Squadron straight into the heart of the alien battle formation. Her ship, the Lightning Dancer, weaved between massive hegemony cruisers like a bird flying through a forest of steel trees. Behind her, 49 other human fighters followed in perfect coordination, their movements so fluid they seemed to be controlled by a single mind. The alien fleet was impressive, 30 heavy warships arranged in their traditional battle formation that had won them victories for over 1,000 years. Each ship was 3 times larger than anything humanity had shown them before, bristling, with plasma cannons and protected by energy shields that shimmered like soap bubbles in space. "Colonel, I'm reading their formation," reported Major Lim from his fighter. "It's exactly what we studied in the war archives. They're using the same triangle attack pattern their ancestors used 500 years ago." Oh, almost laughed out loud. The hegemony had become so confident in their military superiority that they never bothered to evolve their tactics. Why change? Something that always worked against primitive species. "All units, listen up," she broadcast to her squadron. "These aliens have been winning battles the same way for centuries. They expect us to either run away or charge straight at their guns, like scared animals. Instead, we're going to show them what happens when they fight an enemy that thinks." The alien commander, Admiral Kextor, watched the small human fighters approach his formation with amusement. 49 tiny ships against his massive fleet. These humans were even more foolish than he had thought. "Prepare to fire when they enter weapons range," he ordered his gunners. "This will be over quickly." But as the human fighters got closer, something strange happened. Instead of flying in, straight lines toward the alien ships, they began to move in seemingly random patterns. Some fighters suddenly accelerated while others slowed down. Some climbed higher while others dove lower. To Admiral Kextor it looked like complete chaos. "What are they doing?" he muttered, watching his tactical display with confusion. "Colonel," To smiled as she executed a spinning dive that took her under the belly of an alien cruiser. Her fighter's advanced computer was connected to every other human ship through quantum links, allowing the entire squadron to move like a single organism with 49 separate parts. "Dragon formation now," she called out. Instantly, the human fighters reorganized themselves into a complex 3-dimensional pattern that spiraled around the alien ships like a living tornado. From the outside, it looked like pure chaos, but every movement was carefully calculated. The humans were attacking from angles the aliens had never seen before, hitting weak spots in their formation that had been protected for centuries. Major Lim's fighter darted between 2 alien destroyers, his weapons targeting their communication arrays. "Their shield generators are exactly where our intelligence said they'd be," he reported. "These ships haven't been upgraded in decades." The alien gunners tried to track the human fighters, but their weapons moved too slowly. Their targeting computers had been designed to hit ships that flew in predictable patterns, not opponents that seemed to dance through space like they were performing an aerial ballet. "Impossible!" Admiral Kextor shouted as his ship's shields began failing under the precise human attacks. "How are they doing this?" Colonel O's voice came through the alien communication system, having hacked their frequencies. "You've been fighting the same war for 1,000 years, Admiral. We've been studying you, learning your weaknesses, and preparing for this moment. Welcome to the future of combat." Within minutes, half the alien fleet was disabled, their weapons offline and their engines failing. The humans had won without losing a single fighter. Operative Kang lay perfectly still in the underground morgue beneath the hegemony's capital city, just as he had for the past 3 years. The cold metal table was uncomfortable, but he had learned to ignore the discomfort long ago. Around him, dozens of other corpses waited in similar positions, all of them human soldiers who had faked their deaths and been brought here to be disposed of. Above ground, the sounds of explosions echoed through the city as humanity's fleet attacked the outer defenses. This was the signal Kang had been waiting for. He opened his eyes slowly and sat up, his muscles stiff from lying motionless for hours. "Rise and shine, everyone," he whispered to the other bodies around him. "It's showtime." One by one, the human corpses came to life. Agent Park stretched her arms and rolled her shoulders. Operative Jin cracked his neck and flexed his fingers. Sergeant Wu checked the hidden equipment built into his fake burial clothes. They had all been declared dead by alien doctors who had barely bothered to examine them properly. Kang pulled a small device from inside his shirt, a quantum computer no bigger than a coin that contained the most sophisticated virus ever created by human programmers. For 3 years he had been studying the hegemony's computer networks, learning their security codes and mapping their systems. Every maintenance worker, every janitor, every dead body had been gathering intelligence. "Everyone ready?" Kang asked quietly. The others nodded. They moved like shadows through the morgue's corridors, avoiding the few alien guards who were too busy panicking about the space battle to pay attention to their duties. Kang led them to the building's main computer terminal, hidden behind a locked door that his team had already mapped months ago. Agent Park used a small device to override the lock, while Operative Jin stood guard. Within seconds, they were inside the computer room, surrounded by massive servers that controlled the entire planet's infrastructure. Kang plugged his virus into the central system. Lines of code flowed across the screen as the program began spreading. Through the hegemony's networks like digital fire, within minutes it would reach every connected system in their empire. "Virus is active," he reported into his hidden communicator. "All ghost teams, you are clear to proceed." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were unfolding. On the industrial world of Vega 7, dead humans rose from disposal sites and took control of the planet's main power grid. The factories that built hegemony weapons suddenly went dark. On the military base at Rigel Station, human operatives who had been playing dead for months emerged from body storage areas and seized the communication center. Within minutes, they had cut off all contact between the base and the rest of the fleet. Agent Lee had been hiding in the waste processing center of a major spaceport for 2 years, pretending to be another disposed human worker. Now he and his team took control of the facility's traffic control systems, trapping dozens of alien military ships in their docking bays. The beauty of the plan was its simplicity. The hegemony treated human bodies like garbage, storing them in automated facilities, with minimal security. They never imagined that some of those bodies might still be alive, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Control, this is Ghost Team Alpha," reported Sergeant Wu from inside the planet's defense network. "We have access to their orbital weapon platforms, turning their own guns against them now." High above the capital city, massive defense satellites that had protected the hegemony for centuries suddenly rotated and began firing on alien military targets. The planet's own defense system was now under human control. Kang watched the chaos unfold on the computer screens around him. Power grids failing across the empire, communication networks going silent, weapon systems turning against their creators. The hegemony's greatest weakness had been their arrogance. They never suspected that their primitive human slaves might be more clever than they appeared. "Phase 3. Complete," he reported. "The Empire's infrastructure is ours, Supreme Commander." Velthak stood in his command center, at the heart of the hegemony's greatest fortress, watching his empire die before his eyes. The massive holographic display that filled the chamber showed a galaxy painted in red, every red dot representing a world under attack, a fleet destroyed, or a communication hub gone silent. Just 3 days ago, this same display had been mostly blue, showing the vast territories under hegemony control. His million-year-old empire had stretched across half the galaxy, ruling over thousands of species with absolute authority. Now red warning lights blinked everywhere as human forces struck at targets no one even knew were vulnerable. "Report!" Velthak roared at his communications officer, a trembling creature with multiple eyes and tentacle-like arms. "Sir, we've lost contact with 70% of our outer colonies," the officer stammered. "The human fleet has destroyed our supply lines and cut off all communications. Our own defense systems are firing on us." Velthak's forearms shook with rage and confusion. This was impossible. Humans were supposed to be weak, primitive creatures good only for manual labor. Their pathetic ships and simple weapons posed no threat to the mighty hegemony. Yet somehow in just 3 days, they had brought his empire to its knees.